welcome back to The Watch. And Nathan, I have noticed that something quite significant has changed with YouTube this year, and I want to talk to you a little bit about it. Now, some I've already mentioned, especially on Shadiversity, when it comes to how it is recommending content, drastically changed, and we've theorized a bit what could be happening here. Another possibility has come to my mind that might help explain a lot of this, and I haven't mentioned this to you yet.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I'm interested to see what your reaction will be, but also if some of your experience actually might confirm this. So if I was to ask you, just from a user perspective, no, you've seen the back end, the analytics, and the issues that we've been having with recommendations, but from a user experience, have you noticed anything different recently?
How recently are we talking?
Like last, 3 months, like in this year?
As a user, I haven't noticed too much in terms of my recommendations and subscription. I've said this before with the search function and everything. So no, I would say.
Okay, so how about this? Because sometimes people don't notice. I'm wondering if have you noticed an oddly higher amount of videos being recommended with barely any views on them?
Yes, I have seen that.
You have seen
I've had more recommendations with 0 to no views, yeah.
That is odd, don't you think?
It is, and I don't click on them unless if they are a topic or genre video that I distinctly like, which is what I'd think recommendations should do. But other times I get ones that are completely random and non-consequential. Like, they're just like random things people made videos of that aren't even interesting or... Yeah.
When did you notice, now thinking back, because a lot of because clearly it kind of went under the radar until I pointed out, and then you were like, oh yeah, all right. When did you start to notice?
I reckon it started probably maybe 6 months ago.
6 months ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it was start of the year when I've just been recommended really weird videos. Now, by the way, it's not like YouTube in the past has recommended small channels, small videos, but usually the trend has been topics I'm interested in or something that you instantly know why it got recommended. Like it was trending a little bit, even for a smaller channel. It was doing better for that smaller channel, and so it got a bit of a boost. And it was kind of getting boosted on its own merit, and you can see that's why that one got recommended to me. The recommendations that I've noticed recently, and when I've mentioned this, right, I did another update video on Shadiversity, and I mentioned this, that recommendations are really strange at the moment, and so many comments are like, yes, I've been noticing the same. I've been getting recommended weird videos with barely any views that I have no interest in at all.
Yeah.
Share in the comments if you've been noticing. This is a very consistent thing, and very consistent for me. And the change seems to be particularly the quality of video. like that, barely any views, and there seems to be a reason why these videos have barely any views. And they're a lot, again, topics I'm not interested in, and I think it's doing a disservice for channels that are small, right, that deserve some attention.
Yeah.
But now I'm getting flooded with crap content. And the question is why? I think there's an answer here, and it goes into the title of this video, that YouTube might be robbing creators. Now, that's a bit of a more hyperbolic way of putting it, but first, let me explain some of the distinct changes that people have been noticing to lay the foundation, okay? So on Shadiversity, we saw our recommendation of content to new viewers, which means new subscribers to the channel, drop off a cliff at the beginning of January. And with that, also a big reduction in recommendations of our videos to our own subscribers. But the videos that have done well, because not everything bombed, it's just, it seems like our videos, it's much more difficult for our videos to get traction. But those few videos that do end up getting traction, one with nearly 500,000 views, right, barely grows subscribers in the total balance. Over a long period, there's a bit of growth, but when you compare that to the just channel growth, no significant increase at all. And that's never happened with big videos before. When I've had big videos, we're talking like upwards between 5 to 10,000 new subscribers, 500,000 views, right? Yeah. Right? The amount of subscribers we've gotten off that video is shockingly low, which means it hasn't been getting recommended to new viewers. And usually when recommendations change like that, it's because other content's getting recommended. I think shorts have impacted this a lot, as well as a number of other things. But the thing is, though, I noticed this, and it's really like harming Shadiversity's revenue and our ability to make content. And I did a video where we might not be able to survive. Huge outpouring of support, and then I did another update video saying thank you because you guys are helping us survive. During that time, heaps of people pointed out, Shad, there's this other content creator talking about the exact same thing. And I got comments from content creators saying, yeah, same, begin January, something changed. I shared a video from TylerTube on his channel, TylerTube 2, which is a second channel, and he's just talking about the exact same thing. And it was like, what's going on? Did my content just suck? And he's like, look, no, I'm making the same type of content. And then he looked at a whole heap of other channels, and views for large channels went off a cliff, right? And the only correlating kind of thing that I've noticed in terms of my recommendations is a much higher influx of recommendations to videos that I have no interest in. Mm-hmm. And this is a shame, because I think it's good that you should try and support smaller channels, videos that aren't getting viewed. But if they start to push, recommendations to videos that just are bad, it's a waste of a recommendation. No one is clicking on them. And I don't think these videos are growing because they don't look like good videos. Yeah. Back in the day, the recommendation of a smaller channel, usually, like I mentioned, it was like not only an endorsement, but you could see why you would be interested in it. And also, like, there's a difference between a video that has 100 views and a video that has 10,000, okay? And usually the video with 10,000 views, especially if it's on a small channel, means people have watched that video because there's something good about it. Yeah. And you could get a guide of the quality of video by the amount of views it has. And people might say, well, that's an influx then, and it doesn't represent like the giant channels that have just huge subscriber base. They just get views, but usually they've grown that big because they make good content. Okay. And so the actual view count was somewhat of a guide as to, is this video interesting? So then why would YouTube make this change? What would, like, I'm just spitting this idea. Like, I know it's all, you haven't had time to think about it. Yeah,
I'm trying to process. I feel like you're going to say they're doing this because they want more ad revenue, and by having smaller channels be pushed, then they won't be able to they won't need to pay creators as much because they're...
Why would that be? Why specifically would they not need to pay creators?
Because they're not partnered if they've got no subscribers.
Exactly. So not too long ago, but you seem like you had a caveat or a but after that.
We'll go through your thing first, because I'm still processing my thoughts and feelings on it.
But it's interesting that you're able to just notice something right there. Not too long ago, well, actually, was it over a year or so ago, something? YouTube said, we are putting ads on all content across the platform.
Yeah.
Including channels and videos that are uploaded by channels that aren't partner, meaning they are not monetized, which means 100% of that revenue goes straight to YouTube. And I already thought that was a bit of a scummy move. It's like, okay, so you want to profit off content that you don't need to share a cut of. Now, turns out YouTube's most recent quarterly report has been lower than the previous quarterly report. And so revenue on YouTube is down, and they might want to change something to increase revenue that they're getting. And this could be due to a number of reasons. We're in an economic downturn. Inflation is also impacting. Less money for advertisers to go around. And then if YouTube is feeling the squeeze and they want to make more money, all right, what's an easy thing they could do to make more money, Nathan?
Not pay people.
Not pay people. But they got contracts to say they have to pay partnered videos. But if they start pushing content that is not partnered, they don't have to share a single cent of the revenue. And I still think that's stealing people from that content, right? Because it's their content. If any views are, they deserve it. And that's why I thought it was scummy from the beginning. You should just, monetize any content that you're putting ads on. And also, by the way, it was hypocritical in the extreme, because you remember the adpocalypse? Like, YouTube, we're very determined about only putting ads on, approved, safe content, and we'll demonetize all these videos for all the bad content and things like that because we're really determined about only putting ads on content that we approve on. Oh, and by the way, we're putting ads on all content on the platform. Friggin' hypocrites.
Yeah.
Right? What's your thoughts there, Nathan?
I don't think it'll make them money though.
I think that's what they'll eventually learn.
Because realistically, if you're trying to push videos that aren't interesting, that people won't click on, I mean, I guess the other goal for them to limit costs is to limit people going to the platform, which you wouldn't necessarily want. It'd be more smart to, push good content to have more views and then make more money. And then, capitalism is basically working as it should. But if you're pushing content that isn't interesting to people, then people aren't going to be going on the platform to begin with. So
I think they might see a minor, or not. It depends. Like overall, I don't think you'd think if they're pushing views to content that isn't monetized, there would be a drop. But even if those videos get less views, remember they still have to pay like a 30% cut to creators. And so, what if it actually balances out that the more money, even though fewer people might watch this lower viewed content, enough people watch it for them to make up the loss because they get 100% of the revenue.
See, I'm no financial expert because I don't know if you have like, say, 1,000 videos that have 100 views, so they're not monetized, but you get the money. How much money are you making back off of that versus if you have people who were partnered in the program and making like 10,000 views per video? Like, when does that number even out to making the same amount, if not more
You're
or less?
right, but this isn't actually about views. It's about recommendations, impressions to views. Clearly, they must be getting some measure of views, but I don't think, I think it's, because the other thing is there is so much more new content on the platform, and I agree with the people just starting out, it's harder to get seen than ever before.
Yes.
But that's why it was so important to just make good quality content. If they're just spewing out recommendations for everyone across the board, all right, and not actually giving recommendations more based on merit about someone who's making quality content, that means the people who are making quality content are getting to be even harder to be seen because they're not getting rewarded for it now. And so there are issues across the board. I suspect this very well could be one of the explanations. I think there are multiple explanations, and it's worth going through in this video about what the hell is going on with YouTube. But this one seems to add up, let's just say. Because the question, like the response that I've had by so many people confirming this has been exactly my experience, is been all the content's been crap. I haven't been interested in seeing, there's been so many comments saying I've just had to go by and list 20 videos straight, not interested in. And they're saying, where's my recommendations from my subscriptions? Okay. Or just recommendations of similar quality content that you'd like.
It's interesting because like on a user front, I remember for a very long time, I didn't have my history on because I hated the recommendations they were giving me. But then it like switched when you had no history. They give me Mr. Beast videos and videos that weren't relevant. So I turned it back on and I'm getting more relevant stuff. But now I'm annoyed because in my search feed, I now get videos I've watched in my history, which have been watched through completely. I've watched the video, I don't care anymore. And so now part of me is like, do I turn the history off? Recommendations fix it that way? Like, it's... With every change YouTube makes, I feel like both as creators and viewers, we all need to change our watching style and the way we make content.
I think every change they make screws people over more. It's all this corporate decision-making stuff that is harming creators, but also just the user experience. Like, if this is true, if this is actually happening, that they're prioritizing unmonetized content so they can get all the ad revenue, that is a corporate decision only intended to make them more money and not benefit users by giving them recommendations of content they actually want. YouTube is on record about saying that they'll recommend content that they want you to watch over content you're interested in watching. We've mentioned in a previous video, but every time we mention it, people don't seem to realize how true that statement is, right? They kind of brush over that, yeah, sure, it's just a conspiracy. YouTube always, pushes things based on merit. We have a quote right here from Susan Wojcicki. It says, we began to identify content that we call borderline content. And that's just stuff that they didn't like. Guns. Also, they suppressed really short-form content once upon a time when they killed the smaller animation sphere of content. So they borderline content. And that if users were repeatedly engaging with this borderline content, we will show them other content alongside that we've ranked as more high quality content. Meaning, if you are actually engaging and enjoying content that we disapprove of, we will actually deboost it and push in your recommendations to other content that they've specifically ranked as more high quality. That is actually like a slip right there. I don't think they wanted to admit that they rank videos according to a metric that they determine as to how quality is. Literally, that we've ranked as more high quality. You can only rank certain content as high quality if you're ranking content as quality, which means content that has lower ranking of quality, lower recommendations. That's a bold-faced admission by the former CEO of YouTube, right, that they legitimately deboost content that they think, not only think is bad, just that they want their viewers to not engage with as much, and that they will prioritize stuff that they deem that's what we want you to watch. All right, this has been happening for YouTube for a while, and I think it's just gotten way worse because now it seems like they might be prioritizing content that just gets 100% of the revenue, and that users have no interest in watching at all. And I can't tell you how. And this is a sentiment expressed and echoed by, I've seen hundreds of comments, especially on the reply in the comments for Shadiversity, where I mentioned that this is happening, right? Of people saying they've been getting flooded with content that is crap and they're not interested in. Okay. So yes, YouTube does this.
It just doesn't make any economical sense.
I mean, it does to make money, but not long term.
But think about it, because if you're uploading a video and they have to pay for server space, people uploading and downloading, like live streamers. Like, have you seen the video from Pirate Software? He talked about, he calculated how much Twitch is losing from him live streaming. It was like 40 grand an hour or something absurd like that because of uploading content, downloading content, and with the range of the amount. If you have like, how many videos uploaded a day on YouTube, and all those videos aren't being viewed enough to make back the server cost for that. That's why I'm confused that they're recommending pointless videos that aren't going to make them the money back they need.
They might actually think that this is a long-term strategy that will boost viewership for lower viewed content. The problem is, sometimes, this is the thing, you have your 80-20 rule, right? That applies in so many things. Usually, and if we apply it to content, 20%, like 80% of the content is mostly going to be garbage and only 20% is worth watching, okay? But then if they try and boost 100% of the content, people still only end up watching 20%.
Yeah.
Before, it seems like YouTube latched onto what the 20% was and gave people good content based on viewerships and all the metrics. Click-through rates, watch time, likes, comments, right? And of course, views. Now, that's the odd thing, because on Shadiversity, all those metrics are really high in terms of click-through rate, watch time, comments, massively positive, everything like that. And it doesn't seem like that's actually affecting recommendations. Our recommendations have been totally nuked on Shadiversity.
I think another thing too, by removing the dislike button, they've also gained some ammunition, because if there's a video with little views and you don't know if it's good or bad and you have to click on it to find out, that's another, like, for example, if there's a video with 10 views and 10 dislikes, then you know, not a good video.
But those dislikes actually counted as interactions on the algorithm, and they think people are more interested or engaging with it, and it gets even boosted on downvotes.
And anyways, it's hidden from viewers now, so they can't, make
unless you have the extension.
Themselves. But even it's not on the screen. Like, before, you'd be able to, recommend whether or not you want to watch that. But now it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what YouTube's doing.
I think this could be very likely true, but there's a couple of other possibilities as well, and multiple could actually be the reality. I think a lot of things are contributing to it. I think Shorts has been affecting recommendations massively, and also what users are kind of experiencing, especially new users to the platform. Old school users still want regular content, but I think a lot of the new generation that is coming up, just being fed Shorts, are almost being conditioned to consume that content and less likely to watch longer form content. And I don't think that's good. That's just conditioning people to have a shorter attention span. And so much short content, because you don't have time to add nuance, is just vapid nonsense.
Which is funny, because I feel like there's obviously been increased in short content, but I also feel like live streaming and people being chronically online for 24/7. Like there's no in between.
Is there a balance we could find somewhere?
Long form videos? That's the balance. But like I feel like younger people now are either always online and watching live streams, or they're just consuming short content.
And I do find some value in shorts. They seem to have been a net negative on Shadiversity and overall by screwing up recommendations, because I think that has affected Shadiversity as well. That's why I think it's not just one. I do absolutely. It's shown by so many users noticing the same thing, that there is an algorithm change that has nuked the way recommendations are going, and heaps of channels are suffering. Not just Shadiversity, but I think that is compounded with the additional issues, which is making it even worse, like how people are interacting with shorts, how a subscriber from shorts interacts and everything, which is why basically I've nuked all shorts on Shadiversity, taken them off. But I might be starting a shorts channel just because we have like all this shorts content now. That it's all, like, if people are watching that content,
may as well watch them from you.
Exactly. And I try and make them as informative as I can. But I do think shorts have negatively impacted it. And for like sword content, because that's what Shadiversity makes primarily, the sword short content is really popular. Our shorts, our sword-based shorts, millions upon millions of views. But that had we didn't get any revenue from it. It harmed the recommendations of our larger videos. And so even with those millions of views, it didn't help. But there were millions of views. There are people watching it, right? And so maybe if we make another channel, but that also shows people are interested in sword-related content still. But I wonder if because they're engaging more with shorts sword-related content, that they're now being conditioned to prefer shorter content. Now, once upon a time, YouTube favored longer form content. Watch time was the thing.
Yeah.
And Shadiversity has always had great watch time, still does. But if the preference in what they're willing to recommend, right, based on content type, and it thinks more people are engaging with shorter sword-related contents, that could also affect the recommendations we've been getting on Shadiversity. Not because our content is worse or our actual subscribers are uninterested, but because that's the thing. This all comes down to impressions, recommendations, okay? Everything, all the other metrics on the main content is really positive and healthy. But the amount of recommendations we've been getting have been nuked compared to last year. We're talking a crazy amount less. And that is only determined by the whims of the algorithm as to how many, and a recommendation is, or impressions, that's how many times it puts your video in front of people on their screens, whether on the sidebar, whether recommendations. That's called an impression, and which is a recommendation of the content. And your views are so much determined by how much YouTube deigns recommend it. Once upon a time, those recommendations were determined by interactions, how long people are watching and everything. Now there seems to be more arbitrary algorithmic things that are grossly affecting how much it's willing to give impressions to content. Because again, when looking at the analytics, that's the thing that is just tanked, especially for backlog content.
Yeah.
It seems like the algorithm is now not showing backlog content, evergreen content, and only prioritizing the most new stuff. And that's, well, one, it's a pity to the great content that people have made in the past. And it affects revenue and everything. And I wonder if it's doing it because more people are uploading content than ever before. And it needs to do that. But the thing is, though, it's also affecting, new content for older channels and stuff. And the other thing is, even if more people are uploading content than ever before, 80-20 rule, most of that is going to be sludge, as we've seen with these recommendations of small content. I don't think I've clicked on a single video that's been recommended to me from a tiny channel because they just weren't looking interesting. And sometimes, and that's such a strange, because usually when there's been times when a video with barely any views recommended, and I've clicked many of them because it's like, that looks like a cool video.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting that anymore. So that's one possibility, and an additional one, which seems to play out a bit, how this algorithm is now arbitrarily changing what content it will boost. And they've already admitted that they rank content based on quality, what they deem as quality. So this falls exactly in line with what they have said they're doing. Okay? And so the other thing that I think could very much be affecting recommendations, especially to this extent, because I don't think I've ever experienced such a drastic change. So it's abrupt and stark. There's been times when I've gotten small drops off, boosts when views increase, but nothing this severe that's been this consistently in place. And so their last possibility, and it's one of my favorite subjects, Nathan. What
is that? I don't know.
Come on, what's one of my favorite subjects?
Oh, is it AI?
Yes. But this is the thing. I love AI art, but I've been a critic of many applications of this technology. And I've just look at our past videos, okay? Even the one recently we were talking about robots, all right? Like there are many applications I feel AI needs to be put in a subservient box that only obeys the whims of what we tell it to do, all right? But anyway, this one is very interesting because it coincides with Google developing its own AI, Gemini. And you think Gemini has other applications? Or sorry, do you think Gemini its only application is for users to interact with it and for it to spit out racist images?
Not anymore.
No, but no. Once you have like a large language model, especially a complex neural network AI that can be put to multiple applications, that is going to enable Google and YouTube to do things on scale that they've never been able to do before. Do you want to guess what some of the things that they can do now with it?
What things can they do now?
Well, for instance, the foundation of this AI boom, right? Boom, was triggered by the intent to teach a computer to be able to understand visual input, an image. Basically, self-driving cars. They wanted, when it's got the camera, they can tell the difference between a stop sign and a person, or a dog, or a car, and things, because it needs to say, person, let's all avoid them at all costs. Stop sign, stop, and things like that. But to do that, we needed to develop a way for a computer to be able to separate objects in images and then train it on this is what this object looks like. In fact, there's so many variants, so many different angles. We need to input thousands of examples for you to train you on what that looks like. The byproduct, the unexpected byproduct, is when it gets to understand what these word associations are, stop sign, it can then create images based on that word association. AI art was born. All right. But that is still one of the foundational things that this technology is able to do. One of the things that YouTube has never been able to do up until now is read the data of thumbnails. It's a visual input. They could read data of titles and text. And another thing that they've done recently now they can process the information of the entire videos because YouTube automatically transcripts the audio text of a video. This is another technological development. It's been very hard for technology to figure out how to interpret words especially in different accents and stuff, what people speak to the correct word. AI technology is getting near flawless at that. Hearing words spoken and then inputting it to text, and YouTube automatically transcripts every video on the platform now. And by doing that, it can input the entire dialogue of every single video into a process, and it can understand the whole thing. But now with the advent of AI, you know what it can also understand? Context. Not just, bad word here. Now it can understand, okay, if we look at certain lockdowns and the way certain things work and this and that, and it can understand if you're saying something in support of something or something against something. You can understand your political leanings by mere suggestion now, because it's contextual understanding based on larger, words, examples, is crazy. Do you really think now that Google has its own AI that is not going to applying that tech to every application it can do?
I'll put my opinion in. Yes, but like all these big businesses who put AI assistants into their products, it's going to be very expensive when the bill comes through.
Yeah, but man, the pockets of Google
are getting a lot thinner these days.
Maybe.
Have you seen the users of the Google search? They've plummeted. And Bing and some of the other search things have gone up.
Well, good.
Only a little bit, but still, it's something. Like, I think the more I've looked through this AI stuff, the more expensive I've realized how all these things are. And I mean, I can start doing conspiracies and whatever, but it's going to be when organizations with blank checks that can churn this stuff out are going to be the ones in control of it. And the ones who just have like fundraising amounts can only go for so long before. Like, I don't know how long Google's going to last. They need to find ways of actually, you know, filling their pockets again, because most, like with Google search and stuff, that was their primary way.
Wow. Nathan, you're giving me hope.
Yeah.
I hope Google goes under. But in the current thing, I think they could do it because they actually don't need crazy amounts of servers to do this, right? They need an AI that they can input data, just like ChatGPT, moment by moment, and then reset. So when you upload a video, that processing time that it takes to process, they can easily include, oh, by the way, input this into AI. Is there anything problematic in this video? Thumbnail. Rank it according to this, because that all had to be done manually. Or they tried to automate it. You're on the...
Part of me is like, because recently, have you heard about Amazon's AI for their shopping?
No.
What happened was they had a store that was, they said that there was cameras everywhere. And the AI would figure out when you pick things up.
Yeah. And you don't need to pay for it. You just automatically...
Did you find out how that actually worked?
No.
They hired Indian sweatshop workers to watch every person in the store pick things up and do it manually. Yeah. It was cheaper for them to hire people in India to do it than it was for them to get AI to do it.
You're giving me more hope, Nathan. Like, I would hope this isn't the case, because the issue, if they do this, right, we've already seen how corrupted Google Gemini is based on the bias that they inbuilt into it. And Google is guaranteed to input a bias into this. And so if they put this type of AI that they've built to any level of content analysis, especially content moderation, so many creators are going to be screwed over massively by this.
Yeah, because I think what would be cheaper would be for, and they do it already, like with Facebook and stuff. Every video that gets uploaded, someone overseas has to watch the entire video and flags it whether or not it's appropriate.
There's too much content to do all that.
There's a lot of people in the world.
Surely
so they have automatic processes, but they have people who check it.
Once it gets, when something gets flagged and you dispute it, you would like to think it has to go past a person. Real person.
But like a lot of the processing is still done by human interaction.
But that's the thing, because I just don't think that there's enough people to do it versus the content that's getting uploaded. And AI will enable them to automate it because it can understand context so much better now.
I just think AI is too expensive. I think AI art will still keep growing and flourishing because it's not that expensive, but in terms of language models and video and stuff like that, we need, like, the cost is going up more than it is worthwhile. So,
you know, like, you might have a point. I have not seen any example. You've probably seen it, because I haven't come across anything that the server cost is too high and it's not going to be, because I've just been seeing people investing more and more money into it.
I think it's going to, we're in a bubble right now, much like how crypto was a few years ago. And I think it's going to be a burst, because there's certain things that come out, like with Sora, with video. A lot of that was done through a film production company. They fixed things. And the AI that was doing the computer science programming stuff was all faked.
Interesting.
So I think that we're going to see, and I think as well, I don't know about you.
Well, it's just funny because this is confirming some of the statements I've made that we don't know about certain bottlenecks that are likely to arise with this technology. I've said that in debates and multiple things. And I even did say that server costs could be a limiting factor with Sora AI specifically.
Yeah.
AI art is different because you can run that locally on your computer. Yeah.
So it's a lot easier to do. But I think what's happened is obviously people are more excited. It's a buzzword now for investors. And I think these big organizations are like, well, we need to take advantage of that right now. So let's fake videos and tech demos and all that sort of stuff for them to actually give us money. In actual fact, when the product is launched, it's not that good. Like, have you seen like Marcus Brownlee, he's done the AI
thing where they project something on the hand.
There've been a bunch of those recently. I don't know why we need them. It's a buzzword. And I think the same thing's happening right now with tech companies. I've seen that they've been firing people to use AI, but then they have to hire them back again to fix the AI because it's programming stuff.
That's exactly what I said, by the way. It's like this would create a new industry of new jobs, and there's basically people quality checking the AI products.
And in some cases, it's okay to use AI as assistant tool. Other cases, you may as well just do the thing originally with the person, like with software and stuff. Like if they're making such large mistakes.
You've touched on the thing which is my concern, because my concern is if they are already trying to integrate parts of Google Gemini into content analysis, which affects recommendations moderation, it's going to be dog crap.
Yeah.
Okay, based on the bias that they put into it. Now, I don't know if that's the case, but it could be. Like, I wouldn't put it past them. They've already got it, and they could be trying to integrate, especially thumbnail analysis, because once upon a time, it couldn't read text in a thumbnail if it wasn't embedded, like it understood what the letters were. Now it can do that. It could translate, oh, that is that word, what does that word mean? Gonna flag it. But not only that, it would be able to say, oh, that's a gun. That's a sword. Before it couldn't do that. And you could, and I've even gamed the system sometimes where my thumbnail might say something that's more true to what the video is to try and draw people in, and then I say something a bit, humorous or something like that might say the same thing but something different in the text, and those times work. I don't think we'll be able to do that if they integrate AI like that.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, because there's too much content to moderate, and so if they want to suppress, especially during the pandemic, remember how they wanted to, so they could only trigger it by keywords, but now if they could apply AI contextual understanding on entire videos across the platform to suppress certain things that they don't want to get out, that's not good. And it might, look, you might be right. There's possibilities.
Yes, and there's obviously tech companies have smart people in them who can figure things out. So maybe they don't need to use the AI over the entire platforms, but they can maybe blacklist certain creators. They can have trigger words through a cheaper method and then go through the AI. Like
you touched on it in something really important, right? So say a creator gets reported, and whether the report is true or not, right? A person only has so much time. And if this report is like, this person is a bigot, okay, and they can only watch one video, it's hard to determine that. An AI could literally analyze the entire content that I've uploaded in YouTube in probably a couple of minutes. You can already go to AI transcripts, and there's things to do it. You chuck in the YouTube link, and it says, and you type, give me a summary of the video. Couple of seconds, bang. And not only that, it gives you context, because the summary has to summarize what you're saying. And so Shad is saying this in this larger section of video, which means it's understanding context. That means it can do that for my entire backlog and process it in a couple of minutes. And that means if someone says, let's see what, and again, remember, Google has a political bias, right? Let's see what they're really saying about, you support the orange man. And I was able to find that from 3 different points of references from a video a year ago, a video thing. Because remember how, we do this currently on live streams where people say, all right, we're a couple of hours into a live stream, we're a bit safer from being, flagged and caught. Not anymore with AI. Couple of seconds, it will pick up everything. And Google is very censorious. There are things it doesn't want to say. It censors in one direction.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know for certain, but these are all very likable theories.
I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah.
Because content moderation is something they've struggled with. Someone gets reported, and a human person can't watch the backlog of an entire channel to get a gauge. But then if they ask, again, I'm repeating myself, but a bit more detail here, specifically Gemini has been trained to determine some really weird things as bigoted. Just too many white people in history bigoted, right? And so if you were to ask Gemini if someone is a bigot according to its standards, we're all freaking doomed.
I think in a few years' time, they'll come out and they'll say what they've done, because they always share this to advertisers and other people. But my other concern with this is that these aren't like the software people now that are like going in and changing the algorithm. Like with most AI stuff now, it's just prompts. Like Gemini, I'm pretty sure they took OpenAI's model and then said, make sure to have diverse characters and no matter what picture. Like they're not programming it. They're telling the AI to do this and then giving it context, which makes it more convoluted, I think.
With Gemini specifically, I think they had a program input that changed the input to what Gemini received. And so whenever someone said, ask me for this, it would be like, add diversity into it and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know how deep the bias goes with it, but because remember, an AI can only be as good as what it's trained on as well.
Exactly. And if it's trained on YouTube data, oh boy.
Oh boy, yeah. And remember, it's crazy the amount of data YouTube not only has, but now has available because it can transcript the entire backlog of content. And if you think it's impossible for AI training to process, what's bigger than terabytes, Nathan?
What I can't remember.
Teraflopper gigabytes.
Yeah, I think teraflops is next.
Teraflops, but
that's a lot.
Like, they've already done that with AI training. They can train an AI on insane amounts of data because it doesn't need to store the data to be trained off of it. That's how it works. And so if they just, and by the way, converting all YouTube content to text takes up much less space and is much easier to input into something. And then they could train an AI off of all of YouTube. And by the way, the terms of service was probably giving Google the rights to do it.
Yeah, because they own the database.
They own the data. Like, has everyone read the fine print? You know, do you consent to your content being used for training and development of future products? I would always guarantee that's in there somewhere.
Yeah. And the scary thing too is not just the data that's public on YouTube, it's everything. Like I remember when Linus Tech Tips, they got hacked and they asked YouTube to restore it. They restored everything. And it was all public for like not a day, but like every tested video. There was a video that he did when he first got a new house on his own, like because his own channel, and it was a full video tour of his entire house. And all of that stuff was made public for everyone. And so YouTube has backups of backups of backups of all sorts of things as well. So
where are they storing all of this? The server space is
everywhere.
I know, right? Like you see some of these warehouses that are server storage and everything like that. They must have so many of those things. They must be so large. It's scary.
It is scary. So
YouTube has gone crazy is the takeaway of this video for multiple possible reasons. I think the most likely one is probably the first one that we mentioned. I think they're just, money grabbing, but definitely what it seems undeniable by so many users seeing this, something has changed in January and it hasn't been good. I hope it'll fix itself, but the problem is changes. There's a track record of them not changing stuff. Like when they changed the prioritizing watch time, which destroyed the small animation genre, that never changed back. Those channels were done.
Yep. When has YouTube ever reverted a change and it being good?
Yeah, they haven't brought dislikes back. We'll have to just wait and see what happens, because that's what we do. Stay on watch.